What an honor it is to be having a chat with you, Junius, for sharing your story with us. We're absolutely delighted to hear all about this iconic Namibian's journey. So tell us, you are today the Chief Executive of Standard Bank Namibia. You were also the first Black Managing Partner at Deloitte and started as a training accountant. What has your journey been like as a chartered accountant and to get you to where you are today as the Chief Executive?
Yeah, I mean, that journey, thank you very much, Kirsty, but the journey was really, I think I didn't know about how the journey will actually end up, but it has been a great experience for me. It has been an outstanding, enjoyable experience. Not only have I learned so much, but I've experienced great encounters with great people in Namibia, with great businesses, and it's been quite a very good story of growth for me, but also a good story of growth for other people around me as well. And I think that's probably the one thing that really pleases me the most, is the growth that I've seen in many Namibians.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And there's been many Namibians that have quoted you as their mentor, many Namibians that have looked up to you and seen your journey and chosen a similar path and grown themselves because of the growth that you took. What was it like when you achieved some of these milestones? Like, for example, becoming the first Black Managing Partner at Deloitte. What did that feel like?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, it's maybe one doesn't actually realize that at the point in time, at the time when that happens. But most of these things were actually also adding more pressure to do better every time. And this doing better is not really about achievement, but it's doing better not to disappoint other people. As you said, there are so many people that look up to others, and it is a responsibility and obligation of those people that are being looked up to make sure that you do the most not to disappoint them. And doing the most not to disappointment is also living an ethical life, in a life of fulfillment, but also, most importantly, is to also live a life that inspires growth. So you need to continually want to grow all the time. And that's really the only way that others will also be looking up to you. Because obviously if you stop growing, why would actually someone be looking up to you?
Very good points there. Yeah. So tell us, did you always know that you wanted to be a chartered accountant? Was this always the dream?
No, coming from school, I actually attended a rural school, so information in terms of careers was not really there at all. So when I went to university, I was going to study economics, mostly, more particularly development economics. But it's only after my first year at university that I thought I would probably want to actually do accounting. And the reason was also very coincidental. It was just because the accounting subjects were a lot more difficult and there were fewer people passing. So I said, I will actually take up this as a challenge and I will take it all the way through. And that's how I ended up actually doing accounting.
Incredible.
And I don't regret it for a moment. I really, even today, if I were to tell anyone what career to go into, I would still tell them accounting and finance.
Yeah. What would you say are the highs of the profession of accounting and finance?
One of the things as well in terms of this particular profession is you touch so many lives. You touch different industries. You interact with successful business executives. Be they financial directors, chairmen of boards, chief executive officers, also policy makers, policy decision people that actually make decisions, and they would also come to you for advice. They will come to you for consultancies and views on a particular point. And that, for me, where you would have provided some advice on somebody, that person goes in to do that, and that actually proves to be successful. That's probably one of the highest that one can get.
Absolutely beautiful. And now, in terms of the process of studying, as you've mentioned, there weren't a lot of people that were succeeding because it's quite a challenging field. What was it like for you when you were studying?
Now, as I said, I actually took it as a challenge. So I wanted to actually prove that I will be able to succeed. And it requires lots of dedication and effort from myself. I really needed to make sure that I was focused. But I also enjoyed myself, especially at university. I really had a good, normal student life. Weekends were weekends, but obviously, there was a lot of focus during the week. That, I think, did prove that you can combine a good student life with, and also at the same time with a lot of focus to still achieve what you want to achieve.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what would your advice be to somebody who is potentially starting out to study, wanting to pursue this field of accounting?
Yeah. So the first thing is that if they were to look into chartered accountancy or accounting and finance, I would tell them that they would have made the right choice, no doubt. And it doesn't matter whether it is today, it doesn't matter whether it's 20 years, 30 years, 50 years from now on. That choice of chartered accountancy will always be the right choice. That career is universal. So once you study accounting, you can work in the US, you can work in Europe, you can work everywhere across the globe. So people actually get a chance to travel and work wherever they want. This is one of those professions that are really, really universal. And I think what we are also finding as well in the world is that the whole area of finance is becoming more complex. It is actually becoming more knitted as business becomes complex. So there will always be a need for good accountants. That's the one. And then the second one is, what I will also tell them is, one of the good things that come with being an accountant, as I said earlier, is there is quite a big emphasis on ethics, on integrity, on honesty, trustworthiness. And I think these are just good virtues. These are good things for an individual. They will help you in your private and your personal life. So they come as part of the package. It's not only the technical skills that you get, but you also really become rounded. You become a better person as a result as well. So I will tell them that they will have made the right choice. You know, they just need to make sure. Obviously, it's a little bit demanding, and they just need to make sure that they put the effort and focus into making sure that they do pass.
But that hard work is going to pay off.
That hard work will pay off. The one thing that I didn't say, and I always don't tell that to young people, is that, but this profession is also, in terms of remuneration, is quite lucrative as well, comparable to other careers. So they will do well, I think, financially as well.
Great. Now, you've mentioned some of the values that come with this field. What would you say is the most important value of becoming a chartered accountant? Personal value.
So, I mean, as I said, it's integrity. Obviously, integrity encompasses a number of things. So it encompasses objectivity, independence of mind, honesty, trustworthiness. And as I said, these are just good universal, good universal values of being a good person or being a better person. Values of respect, values of humility, and doing the right things irrespective of the consequences.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. You mentioned earlier, Junius, about the importance of growth and to continue with growth. And I know that this year you went to go and spend some time working on yourself. You've even been to Harvard to go and review your own growth. What was that process like, and what have you learned?
Yeah, so I mean, you're 100% right. If we want to actually be better people, we need to continually grow, and continually growing is learning new things all the time. So I was really, really pleased and honored to have been spend that 2 months at Harvard. Obviously, a great university in the world. But part of the aspects, not only that I really enjoyed most, is there was a particular course on personal growth. And that course was really focusing on me as a person in terms of, how could I actually become a better person? How could I lead myself better? How could I lead other people around me better? And for me, that was really a great addition to me as a person. There's a lot of actions and a lot of things that I need to take that I have taken away from that time in Harvard, especially about my own personal growth. And I believe that I will be a better person as a result, and there's a lot of work that I need to work on. And I think that's, as I said, it's important that we continually grow. We continually grow when we read, when we listen to others, when we study, when we also delved into other people's experiences and life stories. What I say is, we all live one life, but what will be most, so I love like reading bibliographies and autobiographies, because it gives you an opportunity to actually almost live another person's life, and that's a great opportunity. If you can live a life of 100 other people or 200 other people, that is by learning from their life stories, learning from their successes, their challenges, their difficulties, their worries, their inspirations. What a wonderful opportunity to actually enhance your own life as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. Junius, as I mentioned earlier, as we've been going on this journey to uncover a little bit more about the field and what it is to be a chartered accountant, so many Namibian chartered accountants have quoted you as giving them the best piece of business advice that they ever received. And so now I'd like to hear from you. What would you say is the best piece of business advice that you ever received?
So, I mean, I've received many advices, and I really had some great mentors. And these mentors were different at different times of my life. So I had a person called Dropo Henlen, and we have really continued that friendship as a great friend of my family. We spend lots of time together even today, and that is now 20 years later. He lives in Dubai. We spend quite a lot of time together. Other partners that I also work with, Peter Watermeyer, and I'm probably going to be using his quote.
Okay.
So one of the quotes that he really drilled into me as I was growing up was, and as I was learning, he used to say, "Trust is good, but control is better." and that is just really a simplified way of saying we need to trust, but we also need to make sure that we don't lose control and we don't leave everything to chance or leave everything to trust. So some measure of just awareness about what is really happening is useful as well.
Very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Another question that I have is that what drove you to be such a mentor in so many Namibians' lives? Why is it that you decided that you would take on that role?
Yeah, I believe that I benefited from other people's doing things for me. I benefited from people that were ahead of me that made things possible for me. Sometimes you will think that you did all you could to achieve certain things. But I think in a way, also other people made it possible for me as well. And for me, and I really believe it actually has become a personal purpose and a personal mission of mine, is how can I actually make it possible for others to grow and achieve the best they can. And that's something that I really take as a strong personal challenge. And it's almost like a key, critical, fundamental purpose of me as a person that I see myself in. And it is also very fulfilling, when you see someone 5 years and then 10 years later, you look at that person and how transformed that person would have become. And then you can see just a little tiny part of yourself in that person, the one small thing that you did. What is also interesting is that sometimes I meet people that I worked with, especially at Deloitte, and then they will say, "I remember when you did this." And sometimes and that's actually the scary part, is that sometimes we don't realize the impact we make on others. We sometimes do these things unconsciously, but we make quite a big impact on others. And I think the challenge is to try and make that impact as positive as possible in most instances.
It's very true, and sometimes we don't know what impact, so consider what impact that you're making. Very
Exactly.
good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah.
And one more question I have for you, Junius, is what would you say you have learned about life by being a chartered accountant?
So, as I said, I believe life is what we make of it. So we define life. We define the rules of our lives. We define life in terms of the possibilities, the aspirations, and as I said, one of the good things about the chartered accountancy is so it really gives you quite a good foundation in terms of a strong value system, and that I think helps a person in terms of the rules that you will then be applying to your life. The other good thing about chartered accountancy is that it provides you with varieties. So it gives you exposures to a number of industries, a number of different situations and issues. It also provides you with lots of unstructured environments. And I believe that those varieties, not only do they provide fulfillment, but they also help to inspire a person in terms of what is possible. I think one of the things that you will probably see is that generally across many industries in the world is chartered accountants actually end up running large corporates and large corporations. And I think that foundation of a chartered accountancy really provides one with the varieties to be able to succeed and do well in various circumstances.
Thank you so much for sharing with us your very inspirational journey, and we wish you so much luck going forward as you continue to grow and inspire more Namibians in this field. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Junius.
Thank you very much. Really great pleasure to be sharing my stories with you, but also really great pleasure to also learn from the questions that you are also asking as well. Thank you.